Hi. So I'm Ananya, and I'm going to be running today's webinar and talking about the SpellGenius program and some tips and tricks for spelling. So I'm going to go through my presentation and then I'm open to questions. So thank you for joining me here on a Saturday. And today I'm going to be talking about spelling bee tips and tricks from the champion and how the SpellGenius classes work. So how did SpellGenius start? So after I won the spelling bee in 2017, I was taking other classes at Mathus Academy, so I thought I could email Ram Uncle about starting something related to spelling. And he agreed, and that's how SpellGenius was born, and we've grown a lot since then. So I'm now going to talk about some important tips and tricks for spelling. And to introduce myself, I'm Ananya Vinay, and I'm from Fresno, California, and I'm currently in 9th grade at Clovis North High School. And ever since 2017, I've been coaching for SpellGenius, and I currently participate in science competitions and several other things. Like I was in the top 16 at the National Science Bowl last year, and won awards at the state science fair, and was in the top 300 in Broadcom, which is like a national science fair. And I also do brain bee and impromptu speaking. And the spelling bee really gave me the foundation to participate in all these activities. It opened the door to a lot of opportunities. And in SpellGenius, we've coached several elite spellers, like Navneet Murali, who placed second last year, Nasa Modi, who placed second in 2018, Shravanth Mullah, who was in the top 10, Nicholas Desa, also in the top 10, Aisha Randava was a night finalist at the National Spelling Bee, and Anisha Rao was in the top 10, and Vayan Krishna was a semi-finalist last year, and Megan Lynch is a one-time national participant and the winner of the Sacramento Bee, and Misha Agrawal represented Memphis at the National Spelling Bee. And we've coached elite spellers like in all our classes who've gone on to do very well at the national level. And as for my spelling journey, for the Scripps National Spelling Bee in 2016, I placed 172nd because of a minor slip-up. But that made me even more determined to work hard and try to place as I deserved to. So in 2017, I ended up being the champion. And I was the California State Elementary champion for 3 years in a row, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And I won the Junior High State Spelling Bee in 2018. And for NSF, I finished in the top 10 for 2014 through 2016 in junior and senior spelling bee, and my best finish in the senior spelling bee was 4th. participating in bees is important because you need to participate to discover whether you have a knack for spelling. And it's the only way to know whether you like being on the stage, spelling under 2 minutes, processing information, asking questions, and staying focused. You have to do it in bees to figure out if you like it. And don't forget to read, because reading books is the most efficient way for new vocabulary. Books like Percy Jackson and Harry Potter contain root words that can help you figure out the meaning and the spelling of a word. And that's equally important for spelling, not just memorization. And don't be afraid to lose. And one of the best things that you learn from participating in spelling bees is that it's okay to lose, as long as you get up, try again, and learn from your experience. And participating in the spelling bee has really made me a lot more resilient for when I lose in other competitions. Perks of being in bees. Some perks of being in bees are that you find like-minded people with the same interest about language and words and other common interests that you have. And making those connections, especially at nationals with people all over the country, is a really fun experience that I'm glad that I had. And it's one of the most amazing things about being in the National Spelling Bee, meeting all the different people. And you're not competing against them, you're competing against the dictionary. And I've made a lot of friends that I still have today. And retired spellers can be the best think tank on resources because they know how to study because they've done it before. So they can point you in the right direction and give you the tricks on how to best study and compete. And before you fully dive in, make sure you have a passion for it, because because before you get serious, you have to know whether you like it or not. So really think, first of all, doing a bee, and then thinking about whether you really like it, whether you like the experience, whether you like learning the words. All of that factors into whether you should dive in fully and become serious about doing spelling. Because spelling isn't just about memorization, it's about understanding and learning and making connections. Strategy. You need to find the plan that works for you, because different people study differently and learn best differently. So you have to look at how you learn best and how you remember best, and then decide how to study so you can structure your plan differently. For example, for me, at first I started with studying published lists, reading them. And then I moved on to typing, because the typing on the keyboard, hearing and seeing the word, that multi-sensory experience really gave me a good foundation in remembering the words, and because that was the way that I studied and remembered best. And if you're serious about spelling, you should find the way that you study best so that you can get the most out of the time you have and stay focused and be efficient. And another good tip is to always note down the words you don't know, or the words that you miss, or the words that you're confused on, because scanning your list doesn't help you focus on your weak spots. So having a complete list of all the words that you miss, is a good way to always come back and every now and then review those words, review those lists that you don't know, and that helps solidify the words in your brain and help you be organized about trying to get better at those words. Because once you learn a word incorrectly, it's really hard to learn it correctly. So going back and constantly going over those lists for the words and languages that you are weaker at is a good tip. And another important thing is to get quizzed, because in the real spelling bee, it's on the stage. You're under a time limit and you have to ask and process the information really quickly. So being quizzed is one of the best ways to simulate that experience and practice working under a time limit, because you have to come up with a routine for how you ask the questions, like the definition, the language of origin, the part of speech, and then find a way to think about it. For example, some spellers type in the air, others write on their hand, some just think on the stage. So you need to find the way that you process the information the best, and then practice doing that with words that you might not know randomly in real time. And doing that will prepare you much more for the bee and help you get prepared for the stage, so you can be calm and ready and focused when you're in the real competition. And study tools like SpellGenius are around because you can't always be quizzed by a person. So study tools like SpellGenius can quiz you on the words, and you can type it and look at the words up and remember them. And those tools can be really useful for more efficient quizzing. If you can't be quizzed by someone, then using study tools is a very useful alternative. And study tools can also help you organize your languages, like having a folder for each group of languages. That can help you organize your studying better. Feel the word, because spelling isn't about memorization. So understanding the word is really important. And there's different ways to understand it. So one way to understand it is through language patterns, because each language has distinct patterns and rules for different sounds that you can use to figure out if the sounds are correct. That you can use to figure out a word, especially if you don't know it. For example, French can be a tricky language, but there's certain rules that can help you figure out the root that can help you figure out French words that you don't know. For example, the sh sound being spelled with the ch is a common French rule. So if you don't know a French word, that rule can help you piece together the information and process the word and spell quickly within the time limit. And applying these language patterns can also help you connect words, because you can remember all the words in a language that have the specific rules. And roots are also important, because roots can help you connect the meaning and the spelling of a word. For example, with the word oxyrhynch. Oxy means sharp, rhynch means beak, sharp beak. And oxyrhynch means a creature with a sharp beak. So you can use the roots to piece together the spelling. And knowing the roots can also help you put together a word really quickly on the stage. For example, if you hear the definition, then you can ask for the roots in the word, and then figure out what the spelling is. And that's one easier way to process the information and figure it out, instead of panicking and wasting time. And another important thing is stories behind the words, because most words have stories behind them. So stories, like interesting reasons for why their roots are the way they are, or or interesting origins, or like Greek myths. And finding these stories is a good way to remember it because it connects it back to the meaning and gives you an original way to remember it rather than just memorizing. So just this month, we started the SpellGenius Word of the Week, which highlights an interesting word, gives all the information about it, and then has some interesting facts or the story about the word. And this can help spellers remember the word in an original, unique way and help them make connections on the stage faster. So follow the SpellGenius to get the word of the week on Facebook or Instagram. And an example of stories behind the word are, for example, Mnemosyne. Mnemosyne is the Greek goddess of memory, whose hair was as long as her memory. And that's an interesting story that can help you remember the word better, and the root, Nemo meaning memory. Understanding the word. Language patterns are basically the blueprint for word spelling. So you should categorize words by language. Like, for example, you should have a Portuguese list, a Dutch list, and things like that. And that means that you categorize the words as languages in your head. So when you hear the language origin of a word, your brain automatically goes to that specific number of words. And it's far easier to narrow it down to the word that you're being asked if you organize and study the words by language. And SpellGenius allows you to select words by language in the software, so that can help you identify patterns. And make sure to learn roots, because that can allow you to guess spelling that you don't know based on the meaning of the word. What's your goal? Your strategy depends on your goal. So if your goal is to be the champion, then you need to dive into the dictionary and make your own lists. And make your own lists by language, by categories, by different categories, different different adjective endings or noun endings. And organizing your lists and diving into the dictionary is really important for mining as many words as you possibly can to learn. And make an year-long plan. You need to know what to study every day, every week, every month, and have a specific plan for when you're going to revise these words and go back to them before the competition. Because constant revision helps hammer the words in your brain. And the more times you revise, the faster each time will get as your familiarity increases. And don't forget to make lists from the online dictionary. Just put in a language that you want all the words from, and then make your own lists, and then organize them so that when you're on stage and you get a word from a specific language, you think about only the words in that language or category, and then you can quickly narrow it down to the word that you've been asked, and then spell. And the spelling bee is a long-term investment, so it takes hard work, years of hard work and dedication and organization. So just like any other competition, it's not memorization. It's all about deep understanding. Prepare for the stage. That's really important because a lot of spellers at least once get out on words that they have seen because of they've either panic on the stage or don't think clearly, and that means that they don't have enough time to process the information and remember the words that they know. So preparing for the stage, for example, using quizzing or softwares like SpellGenius can help you prepare for the stage and become familiar with the words that you do know so that you don't get out in a word that you've seen. Because that's the worst kind of miss, because you know that you could have gotten it right. And then avoid unforced errors. For example, don't rush. Spell slowly. Make sure that you know what you're going to say before you start spelling. Ask for all the information as many times as you need, at least until the 45-second mark. Do whatever you need to think. Type in the air, write on your hand, whatever you need to do. And make sure you focus, 100% focus, because you only have 2 minutes. You need to ask for all the information and then spell. And just focus on your word and the pronouncer. Ask for all the information and then don't get distracted by anything in your surroundings. Just think and spell. Believe in yourself. Don't worry about your past rank, because it's a new year and it doesn't really matter what you placed last year. So if you just focus on doing your very best in the words that you have, then you'll keep on going as long as you stay calm and keep on spelling. But don't be overconfident either. Just because you placed well last year doesn't mean you'll place well this year. So you have to stay calm, don't be overconfident, and always ask for information, and then spell confidently. But if you don't believe you can, you won't. You have to be confident in your knowledge, in your word base, and in your ability to spell. So make sure that you're confident in yourself and your abilities. Because if you're not, it's harder to achieve your potential. And I wrote my winning speech in March of 2017 to motivate myself to win. Last but not least, be prepared for anything, because there's an element of there's an element of chance, just like any other sport. So all you can do is focus on getting your word right. And don't panic just because you don't know the word. Just focus on asking for the information that you need, and then trying to connect back to things that you do know, like language patterns and roots. And if you don't know the word, try making connections and then giving your best spelling possible. And because the word comes from the dictionary, so there's no guarantee that you'll know the word. But by working as hard as possible, you make it more likely that you'll know the word, and more likely that you'll make connections and figure out the words that you don't know. And have fun in the journey while aiming for the stars. And focus on your effort, because even if you don't win, the things that you learned never go away. So pick yourself up from what you did learn and try again next time, and change your strategy to do something that works better for you and that helps you learn and compete better on the stage. So this is my favorite word, spizzaringtum. It means the ambition to succeed. And to me, it means do more than necessary, stay focused until the finishing line, and 1 year of solid prep will give you a fair chance. And this is me in a 3rd grade local spell. And now I'm going to go over some resources you can use to study spelling. So beginner resources are, for example, My Spell It, which was the old list that Scripps was using, that the National Spelling Bee was using. The Consolidated Word List, which is a really important list for building your vocabulary. It's available online. as a PDF. And Paideia, also important for building your word base, is also available online. And this year, Scripps used words from the champions, and that's an important resource for going through the levels to the National Spelling Bee. And for intermediate resources, Words of Wisdom is really good for learning the rules of languages. It has a lot of languages, big and small, and roots and rules. And this can really help you make connections and learn words and learn lots of words with a specific pattern. So making sure you're really thorough with this book is important, and it's available on Amazon. And Words from the Champs is a book by two previous champions, and it's really good for difficult words. And Merriam-Webster Roots is good for learning roots. I didn't use it that much, but it's good for looking at roots, the meanings of roots, and example words with that. And it's a comprehensive dictionary of the roots. And after you're done with these resources, all you can really do is make your own lists and look through the dictionary for important and tricky words. And doing that really helps you learn the words better and organize your own list in your mind. And that's really important for being thorough and confident in 2 minutes. And if you don't want to purchase and download these resources, in the classes, words you're sorted into the difficulty level, and these resources are provided on the software. And bees to participate in. For the Scripps, you have the school, district, county, and regional bees. And the system varies based on the area in which you live, but there is always a bee that qualifies to Scripps. And for North-South Foundation is also good to participate in because it brings good practice for Scripps and provides experience spelling on the stage, especially for younger students. And the South Asian Spelling Bee is good practice for Scripps and also provides experience. And NASCC, which is the Chinese Spelling Bee, is a good experience as well, and also has groups based on your age. So it's a really good practice. And state spelling bees are good experiences. And for the past year, we've been doing the SpellGenius online spelling bees, which you can do from the comfort of your own home. And that's a really good way to practice spelling, especially without traveling. And so SpellGenius pioneered the concept of the online spelling bee in 2019, in August of last year. So you can participate from your home and practice spelling under the time limit, ask all the questions, and get the practice you need without going anywhere. And that's really good for spellers. And we've conducted 3 online spelling bees so far with a lot of success. And these are available on YouTube on the Mathus Academy channel. And we've had excellent reviews from the spelling community for the competition of the words, and it also encourages participation for younger kids to get experience spelling, even if it's not on a stage, at least being under a time limit, asking for information, and those skills are important to participate in spelling bees. And these were our winners for our last online spelling bee that we conducted. And they're all great spellers. And some of them could have been the champion if not for the bee being canceled. So how does SpellGenius work? So we have virtual classes on Zoom at 4 different levels: beginner, intermediate, advanced, and elite. And the program is customized based on skill level, and you can learn from fellow peers in the class and the champion speller coaches. And the classes are 60 to 75 minutes per week online, and it goes through all of the crucial skills for spelling bees. We cover language rules and patterns in all the important languages, and cover roots and how to apply roots during the bee. And vocabulary. Vocabulary is really important because it's a part of the prelims test at the national level. So when you study, making sure you connect the spelling to the meaning is really important. And we go through that in the SpellGenius program and help boost kids' vocabulary. And that doesn't help not only for the spelling bee competition, but also for the SATs and writing in general. And also how to handle tricky words. So you do practice, we do quizzes with tricky words so that spellers figure out how to think about words that they don't know quickly under a time limit. And learn the tricks of handling spelling bees. For example, how to ask the questions, the way to best focus on the stage, staying patient, and spelling quickly and making connections. You learn all of that. And we also have an e-learning software which has modules with the lists, with the important lists that spellers need to know for each level. And each coach does weekly quizzes stored on Google Drive that ask tricky words, and the coaches provide the information and the spellers have to type the word. And that's important because that's similar to what happens at the National Spelling Bee with both a spelling and a vocab section. And coaches can be emailed with questions at any time. And there's SpellGenius online spelling bee at regular intervals, and we add skilled spellers to coach every year. So this year our coaches, so these were our coaches, me, Rishik Gandasri, who was one of the Octa champs, Anisha Rao, who's a finalist, Tejas, and Nesa Modi, placed second 2 years ago. And this was Rishik at the National Spelling Bee. He joined us last year, and he's been coaching the advanced group. So now I'm going to go over the different groups. So the elite group, it does intense preparation through language patterns and rules. So I coach this group, and we go over language. We go over language patterns for big and small languages, do practice quizzing, do roots, and we do all kinds of things to prepare to make connections and figure out words that you don't know. And you do hard vocabulary to help spellers figure out the meaning of a word through logic and their own knowledge, like they would in the real competition. And roots, and going through roots, like is also something that we do. We go over roots, scientific roots and different types of roots, and that spellers can apply to the words. And there's a weekly spelling and vocab quiz, and that challenges spellers with difficult words. And wordless one, uncommon languages are shared. every week for spellers to study and familiarize themselves with less common words that could possibly be asked. And this group has 6 to 8 spellers, and it's for people who have been to nationals or have goals to be a night finalist at nationals or possibly a champion. And for the advanced group, it does preparation through main language patterns and rules, and vocabulary suited for the national spelling bee level, and go over roots that can be used at the national level, and provide a weekly challenge through hard quiz and vocabulary tests. This is something that's done in all the groups because practicing for the written test is a really important skill. Managing time, thinking about the words, and focusing on the information. And there's advanced word list on the SpellGenius software. And our current coach for this group this year was Rishik Gandasri. And for the intermediate group, it did preparation for main languages like French or Italian or Latin or Greek. And it builds the base for vocabulary and covers roots and provides a weekly challenge through the quizzes and gets through basic scripts word lists like consolidated word lists in Paideia. And this is for people who are aspiring to win the regional and participate in nationals. And Tejas has been coaching this group for the past few years. And the beginner level does introduction to language patterns and rules, and introduces basic patterns and rules that can be applied, and basic vocabulary words to start building the vocabulary base, basic introductions to important roots, and a weekly challenge through quiz and vocabulary tests. And this is for spellers who are young spellers who are aspiring to start their spelling journey, for example, win their school spelling bee, participate in regionals, and individual coaching may be available upon their request. So this is our SpellGenius software landing page. So thank you for listening to this presentation, and now I'm open to questions. So, any questions?
Anyway, you can also ask questions to the chat. You guys can hear me?
Can hear you.
Anvi and Avani? If not, it's great. I hope the session is useful. Avani, thank you so much. Excellent. And if you have any other questions, you can email us. I think you probably have our emails. Otherwise, email it to support@mathusacademy.com, and or you can also email ananya@mathusacademy.com. And if you're interested in joining the online spelling bees, or subscribe to our modules, or join the spelling classes, you know where to reach. All right, if there are no questions, Ananya, we can close.
So thank you, and have a good week.
Bye.